Hi everyone, thank you so much for joining me today. So in today's video we're going to be doing another really fun gilding flake technique, and again I'm going to be using this Sizzix Damask embossing folder. It measures about 4 1/4 by 6 1/4, and I've already gone ahead and cut a card panel that will fit inside of there. I've then got these Tonic Studios Craft Perfect adhesive sheets, and we're going to use that today to attach our mega flakes down to the card panel. I've got these gorgeous Autumn Blaze Mega Flakes from Indigoblu, and I'm going to just first of all cut down a scrap of the double-sided adhesive sheet to attach to the card panel. So the first thing we need to do is cut it down to size. So I'm just remeasuring the card panel that I've already cut, and then I'm just going to cut down the adhesive sheet using my Tim Holtz trimmer. Once that's cut down to size, we can remove the backing paper on one side, and then we can line the card panel up with the corners and then just give it a good push down all over. And I just find that's the easiest way to kind of line a double-sided sheet up to a card panel. I'm then just using my long bladed scissors just to trim off the excess of the sticky sheet, just where it's overhanging, because we don't want anything sticking to that. So I've brought in a scrap of paper now, and I'm just removing the other side of the backing paper, and then we're just going to run the gilding flakes all over this panel. I've brought back in that release backing paper there just so that my fingers don't keep sticking to the card panel, and then I'm able just to rub the flakes all over this panel, making sure that I've got really good contact with the adhesive sheet. Now, a few comments in my last video, people were asking if I had any issues with the sticky sheets coming through, and I can honestly say no. I think maybe if you're using cardstock that's too thin and then you're using a double-sided adhesive sheet, maybe the embossing folder's pushing through, but I'm using 300 GSM here and I've not had any problems at all. So instead of using this scoochy foam today, I thought I'd use a paintbrush, and basically when you use a paintbrush it doesn't scratch the gilding flakes as much, so I actually really enjoyed using a paintbrush today. And I'm doing exactly the same. I'm just going over it in circular motions. This is just a cheap paintbrush that I've got in my stash. And then look at that panel. It's absolutely gorgeous. Perfect for autumn. I mean, could you imagine cutting leaves out of that? It just looks stunning. So I'm just going to put it through the embossing folder now. I've ran it through my Big Shot machine. And there you can see the embossed image is so pretty. Now, it's very hard on camera to capture the detail because I've actually used the debossed side of the embossing folder. So actually I'll flip it over now and you can see the embossed side is on the back, and I've used the debossed side on the front. And that's exactly what I wanted to do today, because we're going to kind of make the areas really pop using some stencil butter. I'm using copper penny today from the Crafter's Workshop, and then later on we're going to use some black acrylic paint as well. Now, if you don't have stencil butter, then Luna paste would work just as well for this. Any kind of medium, a bit like that. You could probably use gilding wax as well. That would be really, really pretty. So I'm just using a little bit of foam here. I've used a palette knife to push the stencil butter into it, and then I'm just kind of running it over all of the raised areas. Now, I did like the copper penny, but I just kind of felt it got lost in amongst the gilding flakes, and I really wanted my background to pop. So I'm coming in with some black acrylic paint now in exactly the same way, and I'm just going to carefully run that over all of the raised areas on the background. And as you can see, this really kind of makes the image pop. When I show it you a little bit later on, when I've tidied it up a little bit, it looks absolutely beautiful. So I'm just going to come in now with a piece of kitchen towel while that acrylic paint is still wet, and I'm just going to remove any paint that I've got on areas that I didn't want. So I'm just quickly doing that. And then here you can see it just looks so pretty. Really, really pretty. So let's turn it into a card, and first of all I'm just going to trim it down. I'm going to be working on a 5x7 card blank today. So I'm just trimming this panel down, and I'm going to create a matte layer in black cardstock for it. And then I'll be able to attach that nicely to my 5x7 card blank. So once I've trimmed down the areas, I'm then able just to check they line up nicely. And then I'm going to come in with some Cosmic Shimmer glue and just attach that down. These little glue bottles, by the way, are really handy for just having more control over the glue. And because they're metal with pin tips, then you don't end up with clogged glue nozzles all the time. So yeah, I really would recommend these. And of course you can just decant your glue into them, which is what I've done here. So I'm just going to stick that down to my card blank now, and then just to kind of finish it off, I've got this little lace edge die. So I've already cut that out of some black cardstock, and again I'm just going to use the liquid glue just to attach that to my card front. I'm going to kind of add that in the centre. I think it goes really well with the damask background. And then for the sentiment today, I've gone ahead and cut out 2 ovals, one in black and one in gold. And then I'm using this Altenew Heartfelt sentiment stamp set, and I'm going to be using the sentiment wishing you a fast recovery. Now previously I'd already cut this stamp, and that's exactly how I need it for today because I really want it to fit on the oval, so I'm going to use it. So don't be afraid of cutting your stamps up, especially sentiments. They're easy to piece back together, and of course it means that you get a little bit more use out of your stamps. So I've just inked it up with my Wow Embossing Ink pad, and then I'm just stamping that down onto the oval. I've got a little scrap of paper here, and I'm just using the Wow Embossing. It's Superfine metallic rich gold embossing powder today. So I've got my tweezers there just to hold it because obviously it's only a small piece and I don't want to burn my fingers, and I'm just using a little paintbrush just to tap off any of the excess. I'm using my Sizzix dual speed heat tool here, and I'm just heat setting that embossing powder, and then you can see it looks really lovely there. It's stamped really nicely and you've got that beautiful gold crisp image. So I'll pop the excess back in the pot, and then we'll be able to attach the sentiment down to the gold oval that I'd already pre-cut. And then I'm going to add some foam pads on the back of that. The great thing about liquid glue as well is that you've always got wiggle room. So especially when you're trying to attach small pieces together where you're trying to mat and layer, the liquid glue just allows you that extra time to wiggle things about. I'm just using up some of these foam dots that I've got in my stash, and then I'm just going to attach that down to the centre of the card, and that is the finished card for today. So I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments below what you think, and please don't forget to like this video if you've enjoyed it, and if you want to see more from my channel then please don't forget to subscribe. So thank you so much for joining me today, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.